Justin Haskins, he's the editorial director for the Heartland Institute. He's also the co-author of a new book we're working on right now called The Great Reset. He's editor-in-chief of StoppingSocialism.com. Been a fan of the program for a long time, and I've been a fan of his for a long time. It's funny because, Justin, you called me, 2 months ago, and said, we've got to do a book on the Great Reset. And then I was just about to call you and say, we've got to do a book on the Great Reset. Because it is terrifying. It's out in the open. Shockingly going to be the full issue of Time magazine. They don't seem to be afraid of it, and it is barreling towards us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And just think about how astounding it is that Time magazine, just less than 2 weeks before the election, would devote an entire issue to this one topic. That shows you just how important it is to people on the left and just how powerful this movement is going to be if Joe Biden wins.
Okay, so here's the thing I want you to know. If you go to theblaze.com or you go to glennbeck.com, we have an article on it right now that you can spread with your friends. So remember, listen in the next few minutes, and when you want to share with your friends what's going on, make sure you grab the article at glennbeck.com or theblaze.com on the Great Reset. So where do we begin? I feel like we should start with, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is, the world leaders are all involved in this.
Yes, that's right. I mean, the Great Reset is an extremely well-documented idea. The Great Reset isn't something that you or I came up with. This is the language that they've used. They've branded it as part of a marketing campaign calling it the Great Reset. And the whole concept of the Great Reset is they're going to push the reset button on the global economy. That's what they want to do. And so I think it is important for people to understand that this isn't some right-wing conspiracy. This is what they want. The head of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, the biggest advocate of the Great Reset, I know, in the world, says that every country from the United States to China must participate in this Great Reset, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism, and he talks about revamping all aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. This is coming straight from his mouth. This is an incredibly radical and dangerous idea. And corporations from all over the world, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, Prince Charles, all sorts of Americans are all lining up behind it. And this is not, again, this is straight from their mouths. This is what they want. They want to blow up the world economy and start all over again. Well, that's what the Great Reset's all about.
The crazy thing is that we have blown up the economy. And, I'm not saying that I'm saying that Corona was a very useful emergency, but it is why everything is being shut down. It is why everyone keeps saying, keep the economy closed. We can't go to school. We can't. They need the economy of the West to collapse to be able to do this. It will only be in a collapse, a full collapse, that they will be able to convince the American people to go along with this. And it's a new sort of capitalism, and you'll read about this in Time magazine, a new sort of capitalism that is, strangely sounds like Chinese communism. It is a capitalism where, sure, you're allowed to own your own business, but you have to change the way you look at things. The government, you'll be partners with the government, and the government will tell you what is really needed, and they'll tell you exactly how to run everything. And you're going to pay a lot more in taxes, but that's because we're more community-minded. It's terrifying.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the state managing private property ownership. But really, is it private property ownership if the state is the one forcing you to behave in certain ways, telling you who you have to have on your board of directors, heavily incentivizing people with gigantic infusions of government printed cash, or in punishing people with taxes, businesses that they don't like? I mean, it's the state managing the economy. under the guise of private property ownership and, let's just do what's in the best interest of the collective. And they call it stakeholder capitalism. Stakeholder is just another way of saying the collective. It's collectivist capitalism, essentially, which I think is an oxymoron.
It is.
Really, it's not capitalism at all. What it is it's a form of socialism or some kind of fascism, or we've seen this on the left.
Look, let's call it what it is. Wait. Let's call it what it is. It has been practiced before. It is currently being practiced in China, and it was practiced the last time in Nazi Germany. You were allowed to own your own properties, but the state told you exactly what you had to do with it, and they had the power to take away or to punish anyone who didn't fall in line with what the state said was best for the collective. Period. That's what it is. It is communism in China today, where they call it this quasi-capitalism, or it's the fascism of the Nazis. That's what it is. Period.
Yep, that's right. And just going back to what I said before when I was quoting Klaus Schwab, and he says every country must participate, and every industry must be transformed. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that. What they're after is putting the elites in not just in America, but all over the world, completely transforming society so that elites are controlling the entire economy because, we're a bunch of stupid sheep and they're much smarter than we are. That's how they look at the world. And now they're seeing COVID-19 as a convenient justification for starting this process. And they use climate change as the long-term justification for keeping it going when the pandemic eventually ends. And again, this isn't a theory. This is them talking about these things. They're the ones calling this a justification. Prince Charles called COVID-19 a golden opportunity to enact this great reset.
So do all of the people involved. Listen to this quote. This is from Time magazine. In September, my belief was a more virtuous capitalist system is possible, and it was reaffirmed by an initiative of the Forum's International Business Council led by Brian Moynihan of the Bank of America. They released the Stakeholder Capitalism metrics. So the metrics are, what is the gender pay gap in Company X? How many people of diverse backgrounds were hired and promoted? What progress has the company made towards reducing its greenhouse gas emissions? How much did the company pay in taxes globally per jurisdiction? And what did the company do to hire and train new employees? They will have a federal office, a global office, if they get their way, that will go and look at all of these metrics for every single business in the world. I don't know about you, but it doesn't sound fun.
No, that's exactly right. And a lot of this stuff was spelled out. The principles were spelled out in Agenda 21, the United Nations Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, and all of these things. What this is it's an attempt to take those Sustainable Development Goals that came from Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and impose those on corporations and businesses and how they behave, so that it's not just what government is doing in government programs, it's how government can force businesses and corporations to do those same things, to enact those Sustainable Development Goals. So it's forcing businesses to become leftist institutions, engage in social justice causes, and you're going to use the power of the government through regulations, through taxes, through incentives, and all these other things to force these companies to engage in this behavior. That's the plan, and it's incredibly well documented.
And it is being sold now by Time Magazine. The entire edition of Time Magazine. Is it this week or next week? Do you know?
It already came out.
It already came out. Yep. So it is out now, and I suggest that you get it and read it. It is the Great Reset calls for the introduction of far-left progressive and socialist policies such as government-run health care, imagine that, basic income, and the Green New Deal. If adopted, the Great Reset won't be subtle. A radical and dramatic departure from the existing capitalist system, and one that would demand changes to America and the world's social contract. In an article published on the World Economic Forum's website, Schwab said, quote, "The world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contract to working conditions. Every country, from the United States to China, must participate, and every industry, from oil and gas to tech, must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism." End quote. This is something you must understand before Election Day. If the Democrats get in, the Great Reset will be part of the American society. It will become what we are, a stakeholder capitalist society. That's how they're selling either fascism, just exactly the way the Nazis had it, or Chinese communism. If you believe that that is the way America should go, then you should vote for the Democrats. If you believe it shouldn't, you might understand why they're fighting so hard to make sure that Donald Trump is destroyed. This is something that you must understand, and the article is available now at glennbeck.com, also theblaze.com. Don't miss it. It's the full edition of this week's Time magazine.